Hello and welcome to another pen video from me, Penultimate Dave. So I have here another 10 pens currently inked this week. I think let's go through these briefly one by one. We'll go through them in a little bit more detail and then we'll do a writing sample. So from left to right we have a TWSBI Vac 700R Iris. We have a Visconti Collido Voyager in the Yellow Dawn. We have a Visconti Collido Voyager in the Forest Green. We have a Visconti Colleedo Voyager in the Honey Almond. We have a Parker Duofold Centennial in the Pearl and Black. We have a Urushi Studio India Xiphos-R in Aqua Tamenuri. We have a Leonardo Officina Italiana Momento 0, and this is in the Mediterraneo. We have another Leonardo Officina Italiana Momento 0, but this is in the Grande in the sand. We have an Atelier Lusso Carina in the Diamond Nebula. And we have a Visconti, and this is a Chatterley Luxuries exclusive called the Southwest. So I think let's take a look at these pens inked up in a little bit more detail. And this is the TWSBI Vac 700R in the Iris. And I did have this inked up, I believe, last week. And this was in the rotation. This is basically a TWSBI Vac 700R, but the Iris model has this flame-torched rainbow effect going on here. So you'll see that there on the TWSBI cap band there. It says Vac 700R, but you'll also see it both up here on that band there, the clip as well, and also the nib and this little ring here as well. So this is a vac filling pen. And you can see there the flame torch effect going on there on the nib. A little bit harder to see there, but you'll see it no doubt. But this is a vac filling pen, and this will hold a good, I think, around 2 milliliters, well, 1.5 milliliters probably, maybe a little bit more of ink. But this I do like a lot. This has a TWSBI number 6 size. Which is a Yovo nib, and this is a broad nib I have on here, but I do love it a lot. Can you post the caps? Yeah, you can actually. It does work. It posts deeply beyond this ring, grip onto the knob there, so you can post these. You can't post on some of the other TWSBIs like the Diamond 580, for instance, because that one will grip onto the knob there because it's a piston and not a power vac. So I have that one inked up. I also have this one inked up, and this is the Visconti, and it's a Collido Voyager, and it's the Yellow Dawn material. Now these are called Collido Voyagers because of this sort of like dot dash sort of pattern that is going around, very much like a kaleidoscope, and I think that's the reason why it's probably called the Collido. You have the cap finial there, Visconti Voyager. You have the old style kill clip, and honestly I do miss these on Viscontis because this is so easy to be able to open and close. Really good spring loaded clip, and it's a clip that I do miss on newer Viscontis. That saying, I do like the bridge clip on Viscontis on the newer versions, so it's a difficult one, but yeah. So this, you'll see here, it says Visconti Firenze there, and you got the V logos for Visconti. But this material is really beautiful. It's got a lot of chatoyance there, and it really is a beautiful material. Now, I'm not too sure if this material is resin or celluloid. I think it might be celluloid. But it has a number 6 size Visconti nib, and that is the, just double check that, it's a 14 karat gold, and it's a medium nib. And I think this might actually be celluloid. I'm just smelling the cap actually. It's a cartridge converter pen. Can I post the cap? I can do. The cap's not back weighted, so it actually feels comfortable in my hand. It's a longer pen though, so I don't need to post the cap, but you can do it on these. These you can actually pick up for quite good prices. You typically you won't find many of the yellow dawns. I think there were a lot less of those made, or maybe there were the same amount made compared to other models, but they're just being kept hold of by other collectors like myself. I was glad when I was able to pick this one up because I always wanted the Yellow Dawn, and I found it actually on eBay. It was a bookstore, actually, strangely enough. It was a bookstore in Italy that I found it on, and they also had some fountain pens for sale, and ballpoints and rollerballs, and mechanical pencils as well. So I managed to pick that up for a good price there on eBay. I also at the same time picked up from the same seller this one, which is its sibling, which is again is another Collido Voyager from Visconti, but this is in the forest green, and this one has a lot of chatoyance. I really do like how this looks. It's a beautiful, beautiful material. And again, you have that clip there, or sorry, cap finial. You have the keel clip, and it's called a keel clip because it looks like a keel on a boat, and then you just have that there, which is just an end finial with nothing on it. And if I unscrew this here, you'll see it's a number 6 size. It's a 14 karat gold, and this is a fine nib. But one thing I have found is that the medium writes more like a fine, and the fine writes more like a medium. So that can be an interesting one. But I have that one inked up this week as well. And then another Kaleido Voyager. I decided I would ink all of these up. These are the only 3 Kaleido Voyagers I have. I do have other Voyagers. But this is a Kaleido Voyager. And this one is in the Honey Almond. And I have to say this is a stunning pen. I wanted this badly. I saw a few for sale and I missed them. And FOMO, fear of missing out, I decided I would, in a moment of weakness, pay way too much more than I wanted to. So I kind of paid about, I think it was about retail price for this pen, maybe a little bit more actually. But I love it. I do love this pattern a lot, and when I saw this, I had fallen in love with it. So I decided I had to get it. Now, this has a this one is a 18 karat gold nib, I think. So look, yeah, 18 karat gold, 750, and again that's a fine nib there. It's a cartridge converter again. You can post the caps. They do post very securely. I just smell this. Yeah, I think that may be celluloid as well. Normally, when you've got this kind of like elaborate work, it is celluloid, but I'm not 100% sure. But I do like this material. Obviously, you've got the cap finial, you've got the keel clip there. This is inked up again this week as well, so I'm getting to use that pen this week. The next pen that I purchased it this year, and this is the Parker Duofold Centennial, and this is in the pearl and black, and I do love this. It was a pen that I missed out on a number of times, and I made a pact with myself that if I could get it for a decent price, I would. And ever since, all I have seen are the internationals, which are shorter. And I couldn't get the actual Centennial. And then this one came up used, and I decided I would buy it. And I absolutely love this material. It's a lovely pearl and black material. If I unscrew the cap, you'll see there it's a number 6 size nib, and that is a Parker, and it's an 18 karat gold nib. Just reading that nib there, and then the nib width on Parker's, you'll see if I can get it there. It says F for fine. So this again is a cartridge converter pen. You can post the cap if you want to. You've got the Parker Duofold Lucky Heart there as well, and it's also on the nib, I think, as well. Yeah, you got the heart there, or the Ace of Spades, as some will call it. but that one's inked up this week as well. I decided I would ink up this one, and this is a pen from Vivek at Urushi Studio, India, and this is a beautiful pen. He does hand work on making Urushi pens. This pen is a beautiful pen. I like it a lot. It's in an Tamenuri like finish, and I elected for a Yovo steel nib, and that's a medium nib on there. I did find, like with all Yovo nibs, I find the medium white a little bit dry and a little bit narrow, so I have flossed the tines a lot. I still think ultimately probably I will put a broad nib in there. I don't have any of these gold Yovo nibs, so gold plated I should say. So I might actually look at getting a gold plated Yovo nib broad nib to put in there. I think all of mine are all rhodium coloured or steel coloured. That's a cartridge converter. You cannot post the cap on that one, but I have that one inked up this week. Another one here is the Leonardo Officina Italiana Momento Zero in the Mediterraneo or Mediterranean. And this is a beautiful celluloid material, and you can just see that there, why Leonardo called this Mediterraneo, because it is basically, you're looking at the waves of the sea. And that is a beautiful, beautiful material. This is a material that Montegrappa have also used on some pens as well, and I love it a lot. So I managed to pick this up at the London Pen Show one year from Stefano at Stilograph Corsani. Now that is a 14 karat gold medium nib. It's strangely enough the only gold nib that I have on a Leonardo pen. I've got 1, 2, 3. I think I've got 4 Leonardo pens, or 3 maybe, and this is the only one that has a gold nib on it, and it writes really lovely. Every gold nib, Bock nib, and even a Yovo gold nib that I have tried since just don't write to how I would prefer them to write. So I'm glad that I have this one, but it's a piston filling pen as well, and I like it. I like it a lot. But I would like some more gold nibs. I can always tune them myself if I wanted to. I've looked at a bunch of Leonardos more recently, and at some point I probably will pick up a few more Leonardos. But we'll see. There's a number that a few that I'm looking at. The next pen here again is another Leonardo Officina Italiana Momento Zero, but this is in the Grande version, and I much prefer the Grande size. So for me, if I'm going to pick one up, as much as I like the regular Momento Zeros, the Grande is what I feel a lot more comfortable in my hands with. So I love the sand. If they had a Grande with other striated sort of material here in colours, I would probably go for it. This is a steel nib, it's a Bock nib, and it's a medium nib. You can probably see that there. You can post the cap. It is a captured converter, so you can unscrew the cap here and twist the converter, or you can unscrew the body. It's a captured converter. You cannot remove it. It's glued in on the earlier Grandes. So bear that in mind if you do pick one up, that double check, see if it is either a piston, or if it's a Grande, it's either going to be a piston or it's going to be a captured converter. So double check that. Easiest way is to twist the knob there. You can post the caps on these, and they're not really back weighted. Maybe a little bit, but not a huge amount compared to some pens. I love this pen. I love it a lot. I think it makes a lot of sense. So if I'm going to pick up any more Leonardos, I think it will probably be in the Grande model. The next pen I have inked up is the Atelier Lusso Carina Diamond Nebula, and I've had this writing for a good few weeks now. I really do like it. It's a beautiful, beautiful pen. It's made by Mackenzie, and this is the Mackenzie Penworks. It's diamond cast material, so it's got real diamond dust inside that resin there, and it just helps it sparkle. Hence, why it's called diamond cast material. It really is a beautiful material. Eric put this hammered sort of brass clip here as well. I've got a number 6 size Yovo broad nib on there. It's a cartridge converter. I can post the cap, but it doesn't post that securely. It goes down probably about a centimetre, maybe a little bit more. But I like it. I like this pen a lot. I love the nib, how it writes. I love the colour, the size, the weight of it. So for me, that pen is another one I had to have it inked up this week. And then the final pen here is the Visconti, and this is a Chatterley Luxuries exclusive, and it's the Southwest. And this is a Chatterley Luxuries exclusive, and there were only 28 of these made. And there were the gold trim versions, and there were ruthenium trim versions. I got the gold, and I think it looks better on the gold trim rather than ruthenium. This has a newer style Visconti 18 karat gold. It's a medium nib with an ABS plastic feed. It's a power vac filler. It's a single reservoir. It's got the hook safe lock mechanism on it. You can post the cap if you want to as well. It's faceted, and I have to say I do like these pens a lot, and I love how this nib writes. So I have that one inked up with me this week as well. So that's my currently inked pens for this week. I think let's go and do a writing sample. So the first pen is a TWSBI Vac 700R in the Iris. I think let's do an ink swatch here. And I did say that I've had this inked up, I think it was last week as well, if memory serves me right. This is a really lovely writing nib. So this is the TWSBI Vac 700R in the Iris with a broad, and it's a steel nib, it's a Yovo nib. The ink in here is Diamine, and it is mistletoe, which is a lovely Christmassy ink, and we're not quite at Christmas yet, but we're getting close, I guess. So yeah, it won't be long before Christmas is upon us, I'm sure. The next pen is the Visconti Collido Voyager in the Yellow Dawn. So we'll do an ink swatch here. Now, I did say, I'm just double checking this. This is a medium nib. So I do like this nib. I have flossed it quite a bit though, because it did write more like a fine nib. So this is the Visconti. I guess it probably still does a little bit. It's the Colleedo. Do that. Collido Voyager. And it's the Yellow Dawn. And it is a medium nib. Just double checking that it's medium. And it's a 14 cat gold nib. Yeah. I probably should know all of my nibs, but I have over 200 pens, so it's a little bit difficult. The ink in here is Diamine, and it is Blaze Orange, which is a lovely orangey ink. The next pen is a Visconti Collido Voyager in the Forest Green. So we'll do an ink swatch. And this is a fine nib, which I have flossed quite a bit as well. So this does write a little bit more like a fine. It was writing very dry when I got it. So this is a Visconti, and it's again a Collido Voyager in the forest green. And it's a fine, and I just want to double check this. I think it is a 14. Yeah, 14 carat gold nib. The reason why is I know one of the nibs I have on my Voyagers is an 18 karat gold, so that's why I need to double check that. The ink in here today is Diamine, and it's Sherwood Green, which I think matches this pen quite nicely. The next pen is the Visconti Collido Voyager, and this is in the Honey Almond. So we'll do an ink swatch here. And I could probably put a yellow or maybe a mango coloured ink in here. I have done before, but I have found that they write very dry. So this is the Visconti. And again, it's a Collido Voyager. And it is in the Honey Almond. Maybe I could actually ink this up one day with KWZ Honey, perhaps. That might be another ink to put in here. Now, this is a fine nib. And I mentioned that one of the nibs is an 18 karat gold nib, and it's this one. And then the ink in here today is Robert Oster, and it's Orange Zest, which I have to say is a really lovely orange ink and one that I do like a lot. It's not one of my favourite oranges. I don't know why, because it probably should be, but I guess I just don't write with it enough. But yeah, it should be. It's a beautiful orange ink. The next pen inked up this week is a Parker Duofold Centennial in the pearl and black. So we'll do an ink swatch here. And I do like having this pen inked up with a purple ink. I think, honestly, when I look at the veins in this pen, they do look a little bit more purpley or black. So I am liking having a purple ink inked up. So this is the Parker Duofold, and it's the Centennial, and it's the, I'm going to just put, yeah, I'll put pearl. I think I can get it on there, pearl and black. It's a fine, and it's an 18 cat gold nib. Just about fit it on there. And then the ink in here today is Diamine, and it's Imperial Purple, which is a very lovely purple ink. One that I am starting to like a little bit more. I normally prefer Diamine Majestic Purple. The next pen is the Urushi Studio India Xiphos-R in Akka Tamenuri. So we'll do an ink swatch. And this is a lovely, beautiful red pen. I have this inked up with, I guess, maybe a more lighter ink, but maybe I should go for a slightly more darker red. So this is the Urushi Studio India, and it's the Xiphos-R, and it's in Akka Tamenuri. And it's a medium, and it's a steel Yovo nib. And the ink in here today is Diamine Poppy Red, which is a beautiful red ink. Maybe I should look at, sort of, when I compare that to that colour, maybe I should have a much more darker red ink inked up. But yeah, I could probably go for maybe an Ackerman Dutch Masters. I think maybe even Scharlaken Van Jan Steen, or Rembrandt's Chemozogen is a, or even Steenrud. Is it Steenrud Van Vermeer? I think that may not be a red ink. But yeah, I think definitely Rembrandt's Chemozogen would be a good one. The next pen is the Leonardo Officina Italiana Memento Zero in the Mediterraneo. So we'll do an ink swatch. And this is quite a nice blue ink. I love how this nib writes, as I mentioned earlier. This nib writes very, very well. So this is a Leonardo, and it's I'm just going to abbreviate it. So it's a Leonardo Memento Zero. Otherwise, I won't fit it on there. And then this is the Mediterraneo. Oops, if I can spell Mediterraneo, and it's Mediterraneo. It's 2 R's. No? Yes. Neo. And it's a medium, and it's a 14 cat gold nib. And then the ink in here is Diamine, and it's China Blue, which is a lighter blue. It's not as light as I thought it would be. And let me show you the bottle. Like, this is the label, and that to me looks like a very light blue, but it's not anywhere near as light as that. But it's still a nice ink though. The next pen is a Leonardo Officina Italiana Momento Zero Grande in the sand. So we'll do an ink swatch here. And I mentioned that this does have a steel nib on it. It's a medium nib. This nib just writes really well. And I'd love to have a few more of these medium nibs, obviously. So this is the Leonardo. And it's the Memento Zero. It's a Grande. And it's in the sand. And it's a medium, and it's a steel nib. It's a Bock nib, but that just writes really well. And then the ink in here is Leonardo Purple, which is becoming quite a favourite of mine. The next pen is an Atelier Lusso Carina in the Diamond Nebula. So let's do an ink swatch. And I do love this pen. I do love how the nib writes, and I love how it writes with this ink. So that's why I haven't changed the ink in this pen, and I'm still using the same non-blue ink. So this is an Atelier Lusso Carina in the Diamond Nebula. And it's a broad, and it's a still Jovo nib. And then the ink in here is Monteverde, and it's Blueberry, which is not blue, Muffin. But I like it. I still like that ink. I like how it writes. It's a very viscousy ink, and it flows really well in that nib, and just writes, the nib just glides like it's writing on glass. So I just love it. And then the last pen here today is the Visconti, and this is a Chatterley Luxuries Southwest. So we'll do another ink swatch again. And I don't think I'm ever going to ink this pen up with another ink, honestly. Well, maybe I will once I get through the 5 bottles I have of this ink. But I think that's going to be quite some time. So this is a Visconti, and it's the Chatterley Luxuries. And it's the Southwest, and it's a medium, and it's the newer 18 cat gold nib from Visconti. And then the ink in here is Mont Blanc Corn Poppy Red, which you cannot now buy, or it's very difficult to buy. It is long sold out. It's not being made anymore. So if you want that ink, you do need to go, and if you find a retailer that has it, go and buy it if you like that ink, because it's not going to be around forever. So I think let's take a look at these pens inked up one more time. So we have a TWSBI Vac 700R in the Iris in a broad steel nib inked up with Diamine Mistletoe. We have a Visconti Collido Voyager in the Yellow Dawn in a medium 14 karat gold nib inked up with Diamine Blaze Orange. We have another Visconti Collido Voyager in the Forest Green in a fine 14 karat gold nib inked up with Diamine Sherwood Green. We have another Visconti Collido Voyager in the Honey Almond in a fine 18 karat gold nib inked up with Robert Oster Orange Zest. We have a Parker Duofold Centennial in the Pearl and Black in a fine 18 karat gold nib inked up with Diamine Imperial Purple. We have a Urushi Studio India in the Xiphos-R in an Aka Tamenuri-like finish in a medium steel nib inked up with Diamine Poppy Red. We have a Leonardo Momento Zero Mediterraneo in a medium 14 karat gold nib inked up with Diamine China Blue. We have a Leonardo Momento Zero Grande in the sand in a medium steel nib inked up with Leonardo Purple. We have an Atelier Lusso Carina in the Diamond Nebula in a broad steel nib inked up with Monteverde Blueberry Muffin. And then last but not least, we have the Visconti Chatterley Luxuries Southwest in a medium 18 karat gold nib inked up with Mont Blanc Corn Poppy Red. So there you have it. That's my currently inked pens for this week. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next pen video. Bye bye.